What's up, my sweet little squids? You're listening to the YNGP podcast. This is a show where I, Yammienoob, motorcycle YouTuber and MotoGP fanatic, and the esteemed and eccentric Whitney Hazelmeyer chat about all things racing, MotoGP, World Superbike, Moto America, and more. We cover the latest races, all of the news both on and off track, and give you our opinion on what's going on in the world of motorcycle racing. If you want to watch these live and participate in giving us comments, questions, and more, join our community over at www.yammienoob.co. Sign up as a member and get access to our exclusive Discord server, entries to win our fantastic giveaway motorcycles, discounts on our store, rental bikes from Twisted Road, and more. Let's get into the show. What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 2 of the YNGP podcast. We apologize for missing the other week. I was out of the country and was not able to talk about the insane Phillip Island race.
Do you know how hard it was to not talk to you about that? It's like, dude, I guess
because I specifically told everyone, I was like, I'm out of the country. Don't bother me unless it's absolutely an emergency. And to be honest, with the amount of passing and insanity that happened, it might have been an emergency.
And who won? It was an emergency.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Yes.
Yeah. So we do apologize for missing Phillip Island, but that is long gone because now we have to talk about Sepang and the title fight. Bagnaia may have finally delivered the death blow to Fabio Quartararo as he heads into Valencia with a 23-point lead over the Frenchman. That is quite the margin. We're going to talk a lot about it, but Fabio basically needs a miracle at this point.
Okay, but come on.
It could happen.
It could happen.
It could happen. We're going to talk about scenarios in which it could happen. I think you might have one ready for us, maybe.
Maybe.
Scenario. Yeah. We also have lots to talk about Bastianini and Bagnaia battling it out. There's so much to talk about here. Were they following team orders? Is Bastianini balancing his bonus money over his future contract? Lots to say about that, don't you think? Yeah.
Come on, you need money to race.
Imagine running MotoGP race pace and you're like, do I want to pass this guy to make a couple more million, or do I want to play nice for my future contract? Pretty crazy. Yeah.
Such an easy decision.
Yeah. And then we're also going to be talking about, is the Ducati dominance overstated? Is it really the same as Honda's winning streak from past years, or is 8 Ducatis on the grid just really too many? Right?
Is it too many?
Is it too many bikes?
It's so hard not to
That's a third of the grid.
Get into the conversation right now, but I'm sitting and waiting patiently. Continue.
Then our other talking points are going to be, is MotoGP getting more boring? Are the races getting decided too soon and there's not enough battling? We're going to discuss that along with the ever-looming aero issue as well. Another 2 points we wanted to talk about is, I personally think Fabio Quartararo is the best rider on the grid. Personally, delivering P3 at Sepang on a Yamaha is crazy, but Marc Marquez may have something to say in 2023. Another opinion point we're talking about.
I want to pick your brain about that just because I've seen more than 3 races. So.
And then Aleix Espargaro's championship ride is over. Aprilia looks to be kind of crumbling a little bit. What's going to happen with them? Going to talk a little bit about that. But I think we should start the podcast with our top point here, is the championship situation. Whitney, how you feeling about this?
Okay, I was trying to remember what we said in the last episode because you were saying that Fabio was going to win. That was your pie in the sky dream.
I truly believe that. Now it seems very unlikely.
I said Pecco was going to win.
Yeah.
I thought it was really cool to watch. I thought, because I'm novice at this and I'm representing the novice MotoGP newbie bits.
It is Yammienoob.
It is Yammienoob. Come on, now it's GP noob time. I thought Fabio was going to unravel because I didn't watch qualifying, but he did start in 12th, right?
Yes,
and I was like,
P12.
Well, here he goes.
I was like, that's it.
He's going to crash. And no, you got to see how he climbed and he raced and he got to the front. And that was like a nice little window into what Fabio can do.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's why I think he's the best rider on the grid right now. To produce that result on a Yamaha was insane. And we're going to get into the race recap, but we can talk a little about it right now. Was Marco Bezzecchi coming in and was chomping down a couple tenths every lap, and I was like, oh, this is it. I was like, if Marco passes Fabio, it's this championship decided, you know?
Yeah.
And out of nowhere, Fabio just started pushing and just kept him back there. Bezzecchi may have had pace falling off, but yeah, Fabio's rider is really impressive. But getting back to the championship side of things, so Fabio he literally got an eked out result of like, if he had literally fallen one place behind, that's it, you know? And now he needs a miracle. Now he needs Pecco to DNF, and he needs to win, which could happen.
See, now
it would be zany, but it could happen.
I'm wondering, to me, okay, but they're not these kind of riders, but isn't it kind of setting up to like, I'm going to try to stuff you in this corner?
I
Right?
mean,
Like
maybe.
you're asking for it a little bit.
Yeah.
To
I mean, I
like
could
get
see that.
aggressive. And
I think it would be such a bummer if Pecco did DNF and then Fabio didn't get first, because like he'd be champion after crashing. It would be so awkward, you know? Like that's such an awkward way to win. But
that's racing.
it's racing. I remember when Fabio won his title, I think he won it. I mean, Enea passed him in the last lap at Misano, and then he finished like 4th or 5th, and he was still champion. He didn't care, and it was still a big celebration. But I think if Pecco were to crash and still be champion, it'd be a little awkward. But wouldn't that be the most Pecco thing, right? To just crash and still be champion.
Well, and he's talking about it too, how much he's crashed this year.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
that's got to be weighing on him. Like, okay,
Yeah.
I can't.
This goes back to the thing we were talking about, the motorcycle racing singularity.
Yes, the singularity is happening, everybody. This was our water cooler discussion yesterday.
Yeah.
Was talking about, I think it's cool to see, you're starting to see personalities come out and riding styles once everything kind of just becomes the same bike.
Yeah. It's so cool to see all these manufacturers coming from totally different places, totally different frames, different ideas, and they're all like just a couple tenths between each other with completely different riders.
And what
you know?
started that conversation between us was Rins winning on a Suzuki.
Yeah.
You're like, okay, dude, well, what happened Saturday night? But, you know, also these bikes are just really good. And if you get the right mood and the Jupiter's aligned with whatever, you're going to just set
Basically,
pace.
half of the grid has a chance to win at this point.
That's so cool. It's way more interesting to
Yeah.
me than F1. You're like,
Yeah.
oh, Max Verstappen wins again.
Yeah.
Cool.
And MotoGP was like that for a long time.
Up
for a lot of
until-
years. Up until 2020. 2020 was the year that everything blew up because Mark got injured, and then it was like, anybody can win now, because 2019 he was so dominant. You know, it was like win second, win second. And for a lot of years past that, you look at Valentino Rossi's record, very similar. He was always winning, always in the front. But the weird thing is, here's a question for you. Do you think it's better to have the same 2 or 3 guys kind of winning all the time with really good racing? Or do you think it's better to have kind of a total, like, you know, pick a name out of a hat type of thing, but the racing's kind of a little more set and boring?
I think
What's better?
I think it's way more fun to see a mixed bag of riders and a diversity of manufacturers winning.
I think it's good too. It's such a delicate thing though, because you look at World Superbike, right? And I know you don't have much knowledge on this, but Jonathan Rea, Alvaro Bautista, and Toprak Razgatlioglu are the 3 guys who are always at the front of every single race. Every race is those 3 guys. But the racing is really good. They're passing each other. The Ducati has this big top speed advantage. It's really fun and interesting to watch. GP is kind of like, you never know who's going to be at the front, but once they settle in, they're there, you know? So it's like, which one's more fun to watch?
Well, and I was telling you too, I was like, I just watched the MotoGP Unlimited docu-series on Amazon, which you should check out because it's so good. But I was like, man, Maverick's such a little bitch. God, he sucks. But then it's like, you're totally misguided by their rank when you start looking at their lap times. And you're like, oh, no one sucks. You can't even say that.
No.
But because of the singularity that's happening, everybody, he's only 0.4 of a second off. And
yeah. And then you really stop to think about what 0.4 of a second is, and you're like, Jesus, it's nothing. You know?
And then what separates first position from last is 2 seconds.
2 seconds tops.
It's nothing.
Yeah, it's nothing. You look back 15 years ago and you would see, like, because I watched these old seasons when I was bored in 2020 on the off season. I was like, let me just watch like 2003. I was like, I haven't watched 2003, so I just watched all of 2003. You would see on the grid, like, first place, you know, certain lap time, second place 0.5, third place 0.8, fourth, fifth place 1.4. I mean, the gaps were way bigger.
I love how you say that gap is way bigger.
That's way bigger than now.
It is when we're sitting in our house watching it on a screen.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
If you were there, I mean, it's just
it's
cool because it's which is what we like. We like to see the human condition, and we like to see the cherry on top of the sprinkle on top of the molecular sugar crystal.
But it is funny though. Like, think about it this way: like a 2 second gap, right? It's bike goes by, one Mississippi, 2 Mississippi. I mean, it's a gap. You know, it's a serious gap visibly, but in timing, you're like, oh, it's nothing. But it actually is a big gap, Over race distance, too. If you're 2 seconds off the pace over 20 laps, you finish the race 40 seconds behind this guy at the end. You're nowhere.
So every 10th does matter. And watching in Sepang, Fabio kind of like start chopping those tenths of a second and how much that actually mattered.
I was really interested, and I have so much to say about Sepang, but I was really interested in how Enea Bastianini and Bagnaia were fighting, right? Mm-hmm. And I was wondering, I was like, are these guys going to cause each other to crash? Are they going to fight and then cause Fabio to get closer to them? Because whenever you're battling, you're losing time. You're not setting up clean lap times. You're running awkward lines to try to pass. You're losing time whenever you try to race somebody like that.
There's a year where 2 Ducati people who are going to get second and third battle, and they both wiped out. I mean, that's what you're kind of like hoping for too. You're like, oh god, you're both gonna eat it.
It was Andrea Dovizioso and
you knew, of
Iannone.
course, the encyclopedia.
Iannone and Dovizioso. I think 2016, something like that. Yeah, that was really infamous because it's like, geez, like they had a chance for a double podium there and it didn't happen. But yeah, I don't know. The championship right now is like it's. Pecco has, I think they said, like, I like the analogy, it's like 1 hand and 4 fingers on it. It's like, it's his to lose completely. Like, all he has to do is just finish the race. That's all he has to do is finish that race in the points, and he did it. That's
Don't
it.
say it. You're cursing it right now. I also think this is setting up to be 2023 to be really interesting.
Oh, my God. 2023 is going to be nuts. Bonkers.
Because now at this point, it's like people are already looking ahead.
Yeah.
They're already like, okay, let's get this over with. I want to.
Oh, yeah. And there's going to be so many shakeups and new teams. Aprilia is going to have a satellite squad, which we're going to talk about later.
Ooh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. The satellite Yamaha squad right now, the RNF guys with Cal Crutchlow, who replaced Dovizioso, and Darren Binder. That's going to be an Aprilia team next year with Miguel Oliveira and Raul Fernandez. Okay. So that's a fun shakeup.
Yeah. And
then, we have the sprint races, which is like they've never done that before. It's very exciting. Yeah, but one last point on the championship before we get talking about our other opinion points is third place is going to be interesting.
Tell me about third place.
Third place is tightening up quite a bit. I think it's Bastianini, Aleix, and Miller kind of in the mix for third place. And we were talking about this before we started, is that third place is a big bonus.
Huge.
Buku bucks for getting third place in the championship.
They were speculating 8 figures.
Yeah, like a huge sum of money to finish third. Because that's a big deal to finish third in the championship. I know everyone's looking at first place, a Riders' Championship, and Pecco's basically going to be set for life in Ducati royalty forever for winning this championship for them. They already love him. But third place is tight.
Man.
Yeah, trying to get that big bonus, and Jack Miller was quoted, I think, saying, I'll scroll down here a little bit because I had this later, but I'll put it in right now. He was quoted as saying, if Pecco needs help or whatever, I'm there, don't get me wrong, but at the end of the day, this is an individual sport and I will try to get the best I can. And the difference between third and fourth in the championship is quite a considerable amount of money. And then that's because the championship bonus only covers the top 3 places, then it goes to 0. Then he said, if it's only I'm third, trust me, I got 4th last year and you get f*** all for it. Nice one, mate. Good job. Definitely we're pushing for that third. As a recently married man, I'm sure he'd love a $7 or $8 million, a private jet, whatever it is. So, third place is still up for grabs.
That to me, I love that it's like, screw team orders.
Yeah.
This is about the individual. These people have spent their lives and their parents have dumped so much money into it.
You want the glory. You're a racer. You want to win. That's all that matters. It's winning. And it's funny, too, because Ducati wins these constructor championships and teams championships and stuff like that. But, like, all that matters is the Riders' Championship.
All that matters is the Riders.
Because that's where it all comes together. The bike, the guy, the team, the engineers. And that's why everyone knows it's the one that matters, you know?
And that's why the cameras are only ever pointed on one
I have a lot
to...
to... Man, there were apparently so many great battles.
I know, and you didn't get to see
You didn't see anything on the MotoGP coverage.
You didn't even get to see Jorge Martin wipe out.
Barely, yeah. They were so focused on Bagnaia. You only saw the Pramac bike just tumbling.
I was like, okay, come on, man. You got to switch. But you can tell whoever's operating cameras only cares about one thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
They're also showing the Ducati paddock a lot.
Oh, my God. It was so funny to have, and we actually wanted to talk about this too. The Ducati guys like running over, plotting and scheming and talking about it and doing everything. So we'll jump into that too. So team manager Davide Tardazzi revealed to BT Sport the following about the battle on track. He said, I anticipate the question, did you say something to Enea? And he said, yes. Don't be too hard with other Ducati riders. And that's it. We didn't give orders. They knew what to do. And that sounds really like mob boss to me, where it's like, you know what to do. Don't fuck this up. Don't fuck this up for Pecco, you know?
Also, they put Bagnaia on the pit board when there were 8 laps left.
Yeah.
They just wrote that there.
They're just like, Bagnaia, like, don't forget that he's our chosen boy, you know? And I don't know how I feel about that. You know, I get it, but again, for Ducati to be able to exercise this kind of power over a third of the grid, to me, is not cool. I think there should be a limit on how many bikes of one manufacturer should be on the grid.
Well, there was a big change in 2016, right, where they allowed leasing out of the bikes.
Yes, that sounds familiar. Yeah.
And that was huge. But because they were and then they synced software, because a lot of the satellite teams didn't have access to that. That was the big change in
2015, 2016, where the ECUs were all like locked and synced and stuff, which a lot of riders did not like, you know. And
really?
Casey Stoner was a big he did not like that at all. He came out very publicly, I think last year, and he was just like, that was the thing that kind of ruined the sport for me. Because he doesn't want the playing field to be it's too equal, you know?
Okay.
Like, it feels like bumper cars at that point. It's like, well, if everybody's doing the same thing with the same ECU, then... But they want the close racing, and that's how you get it, by locking the same ECU for everybody.
The
singularity, yeah. And you kind of thumb on the scale for Dorna, right, for doing that, but, you know, kind of is what it is. But we were talking about the team orders and Ducati and all this stuff. I mean, there's so much to say. So for me, it's one of those issues where if you have 8 bikes on the grid, team orders is kind of like, you know, you have your factory squad and maybe 2 satellite riders. It's like, okay, there's team orders. Let's get our guy to the top. When you have 8 riders, you can turn to and be like, don't f this up. It's too many.
So how do you say the Ducati manager's last name?
Davide Tardozzi.
So yeah. I have somebody asking him, like, you've got 8 Ducatis on the grid. And he's like, thank you for asking, because I want to say our strategy, he's like, other people are asking manufacturers for engines and they're saying no. He said, Honda said no. Yamaha said no. We say yes.
Yeah. He's
like, our strategy is to help. I don't think he would lie. I'm like, oh, he's such a cute little Italian guy. He's so nice.
Cunning.
I'm sure he's cunning. I feel like he wouldn't put that out there if there wasn't some truth to that at some degree.
Yeah, that's true.
In his strategy, he's like, our sport politics are help everyone.
Yeah.
Because he's like, we want fast riders. We want fast bikes.
Yeah.
But they're also making a lot of money. I'm trying not to swear. A lot of money on leasing out those Ducatis.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, but
the satellite squads choose the bikes they want. And they obviously chose the Ducatis because it's the best bike on the grid.
But are they asking Yamaha and they're saying no? Or do you think they're not? Or do you think he's...
I think the satellite teams look at the current arrangement of, like, you look at, like, for example, like Honda, Yamaha, KTM. I wouldn't pick any of those bikes. All 3 of those bikes have tons of issues and problems, you know? You look at Aprilia or Ducati and you're like, well, those look pretty good, you know? I mean, the RNF team, they dumped Yamaha and they went with Aprilia. Why is that? It's a better bike, you know?
So you don't think...
And it might be cheaper to lease. I don't know.
Might be cheaper to lease. That's what I was thinking too. I was like, so you don't know if Yamaha's necessarily saying, no, I'm not giving you that. But people are also just inherently choosing. But also if Ducati's generous...
They seem to be, right? Like, they gave Martin and Zarco the 2022 bikes. They were like, we're going to get you kind of up to spec on this. But famously, I think Martin says that he wants Pecco's engine, right? Because Pecco's engine, I think, is the fastest and makes the most power, obviously.
Do you know the difference between his engine and others? I mean, like, do you know?
Well, I'm not a Ducati engineer, so I don't know specifically, but I just think they have something that makes more
Ducati
power.
Or that satellite teams were getting like older M1 spec bikes or whatever.
Famously, Frankie Morbidelli in 2021 had a 2019 Yamaha that was like old and tired, and it was ridiculous, you know? So, yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where the manufacturer side of it can be complicated, and it can look like Ducati is just like this giant Machiavellian organization that's just seeding out all these bikes. But again, the satellites have a lot to say in what bikes they pick, right?
They are dumping their money into it. So they're
Yeah.
like, cool, get us a Ducati. If it's easy to get and the manufacturer's willing, then why wouldn't they spend their money there?
Yeah. And I think because, like you said, Ducati has a very open arrangement with it, I think they share a lot of data between riders, and the more data, the better. And then they just make everybody kind of lift. And you see that, right? Like the Pramac boys, the VR46 boys, and the factory Ducati boys, they're always in the mix up near the top. When's the last time you saw a Ducati in like P18, P19?
Never.
It doesn't happen.
Now, with that, if you're not ever pruning back that, well, and it's hard to prune too. That's complicated. You're like, no, I'm going to say no to you. I don't want you on my bike, and I don't want to make 2 million extra euros this season or whatever.
Yeah.
Then you get everybody. Then that's what I feel like the Ducati managers are saying. They're like, be good.
Yeah.
They're going to see who they trust. And then it's kind of about character and will.
Yeah.
And that showmanship, and being a good racer isn't about just being a dickhead.
No. It's about, because at the end of the day, everybody knows it's a show. It's entertainment, right?
And so it's politics
And it's politics,
so.
right? So Bagnaia and Bastianini know that too, where it's like, it's not going to look good for the whole organization if you just give me this win, so I have to try to push you a little bit, but not too much because I don't want to crash into you. Like, there's so much at stake there.
Do you think that he pulled back, or do you think that they were actually duking it out?
So there was it's so tough to say. I don't know about their minds, but there was definitely a moment. I don't remember what lap. It was after Bagnaia passed back Bastianini, where Bastianini looked like he could line up a move and do it.
Yeah.
And he was just like, no.
But then you see Jorge Martin lose it, and you go, I don't know if I want to push it.
Yeah. I mean, Jorge Martin is that character, right? He just has that,
he's just so fast,
stupidly fast pace, and he's just like, I'm just going to yeet it or lose or win. That's one of the three, like, I'm not going to, like, I don't know. He's just one of those guys where, like, he's just going to crash out of first place. That's just the kind of guy he is.
Yes.
And he's the type of guy where if he was behind Bastianini, I think because of the situation that happened with him and Enea, because he wasn't chosen for the factory Ducati team, he would pass Bagnaia. He would go for a win. He would not respect.
Okay, tell me more about that. I don't know about that.
Okay,
like,
so what happened earlier this year is Bagnaia was going to have a new factory teammate because Jack Miller was going to go to KTM, right?
Right.
And so there was all of a sudden there was an open factory Ducati spot. Factory Ducati spot. And Enea Bastianini and Jorge Martin both have shown that they have lots of speed. They look pretty good. And so for half of this season, it was kind of like, well, which one should we go with, right? Jorge has pole positions all the time. He's super fast. He's really good on the bike. But, Enea's Italian, and he's really consistent. He has amazing race pace, and et cetera, et cetera. And he's Italian. We like that too. And ultimately, they chose Bastianini. And I think they made the right move because you look at Bastianini's results over the season versus Martin. I think they made the right call. But Jorge Martin probably has a bit of a gripe with them, maybe a little bit of a chip on his shoulder because they didn't pick him, right? So in my opinion, if it were a situation where Martin was behind Bagnaia, I don't know if he would respect those not so explicit team orders because Ducati didn't do a team order thing. They were just kind of like, they know what to do. Come on, like, hey, we play nice with all of you. We give you data. We give you right
of like Ducati and their their sheen and their prowess. I think.
Yeah. And it's been so interesting because so many people have thought that they needed to use such a blunt instrument of like going around to each garage and be like, don't pass Pecco, don't do it. They're just like, hey, if there's a Ducati in front of you, don't pass him.
Be nice.
Wink, wink. If you know what I mean, and be nice. Yeah, and. Again, as a manufacturer with 8 bikes on the grid, they can turn to 33% of the grid and say that, right? So, yeah. It's an interesting situation with them.
So what's Bastianini? Is he staying where he's at in his spot?
No, Bastianini is going to factory Ducati. Martin's in Primac. Yeah, he's going to stay there. He's going to stay there. But he's been promised the GP23, the new spec Ducati for that. So,
is it a 2-year contract? 1-year contract?
Don't know, actually. Okay. I think it might be a 2-year. Yeah, I think he still believes that he can. I mean, he should believe that because he's very fast. He could be factory Ducati one day. But I think that once Pecco clinches his championship,
Isn't he a rookie kind of? Like, didn't he just start in GP?
Who?
Martin?
He started in 21, yeah. So it's his second year.
Wow.
Yeah.
And being already like, factory Ducati?
I know.
That's pretty crazy, right?
pretty crazy, after a year or two to be like, yeah, you're a factory rider. Like, that's pretty nuts. I mean, that's why it was so crazy when Marc Marquez rolled up as a rookie in 2013. They're like, factory for him. They're like,
wow.
Really? They're like, look at his testing times. They're like, yep, that's factory. Holy crap. So, but it's pretty rare nowadays that people come in directly. I mean, Fabio did 2 years at Petronas before he went to factory Yamaha and then won the championship. I think most riders nowadays take 2 to 3 years to kind of get to that point.
Did he win it his first year with factory Yamaha?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, Fabio won the championship. Yeah,
so Yamaha was like,
he was replacing Valentino Rossi's seat. You know, that
makes my heart flutter.
Yeah, it's like you got big shoes to fill, you know, and he did it. He filled them and won it, which was super cool. But yeah, I kind of wanted to keep talking about this Ducati dominance. So we were talking about how, you know, do they have too many bikes in grid? Are they too dominant? And Honda had this streak for a long time of just winning nonstop with Marc and everything else. But I wanted to get your take on this, where like maybe it was more noble because it was Marc Marquez winning and not necessarily like, well, there's all these bikes and all this money and all this engineering, right? What do you think?
That's an interesting question to ask about nobility during this, because it is getting to a point where there is so much money and it is growing out of control. Not out of control, but it's just growing, and then we have to kind of defragment our brains and what is racing and what is happening, and the singularity is on the horizon. I don't know, nobility? That's strange, but we also talked about how the fact that Honda wasn't moving forward or evolving because they had this winner. So
yeah.
What did you say about Harley? They failed
upwards.
Yeah. I mean, it's like, if you're not really putting an effort in terms of like evolving, is that noble, or are they just like sitting there nice and proud with their trophy wife?
That's how I think about it. We're like, you know, I don't think anyone is complaining about when Marc was winning nonstop. I mean, some people did, but they weren't complaining about Honda because it wasn't really Honda that was doing that. It was Marc. And it's like, well, this guy's just more talented than everyone else. Get good, you know? Like, sorry.
Well, that's its own kind of niche scenario, right? Where it's like, we have a different breed of human on one of our bikes.
Literally, he is not a human being. I mean, again, we unfortunately couldn't cover Phillip Island, but that save he had in free practice was just, you can't do that, you know? Like, you have a front tire tucking for 50 meters and you just pick it up. Anybody would have just ate you know?
And seeing him on camera too on the docu-series, you're like, oh, he is different.
He is different.
He is different. And there's no love life or no family. No, other racers are having kids and bringing their wife along, and he's alone in a bathtub full of ice.
Yeah.
He was like...
Yeah, that's his thing. Yeah. He's very... I don't know if you know much about skateboarding, but he's like Nigel Houston.
I don't,
but if anyone out there knows about skateboarding, he's kind of like, again, like just this solo, like hermetic, like absolutely dedicated to the craft type of guy. I think that's how he is, and how he operates. And maybe that's why the nobility aspect comes into it, because it's like, well, he deserves it. He has poured his entire soul and being into this, as opposed to being propped up by an entire machinations of Ducati.
Okay,
right?
So maybe you have to slice it that way. Nobility for Marc versus nobility for Honda. Those are two different things.
Correct. Yeah, because I think at this point everyone's pretty clearly seeing that Honda has no nobility, right? I mean, they've not developed their bike enough. They've not poured enough effort into their other riders at all. I mean, famously, they developed the bike for Marc and Marc only. And then whoever was second at factory Honda was just kind of like, well, ride Marc's bike. If you can't do it,
really?
Sucks. Yeah, they didn't care at all because Marc was winning.
What's their relationship with their satellite team?
Basically the same thing, where it's like, hey, good luck. Here's Marc's bike. For a long time it was like that. And then when Marc went away, they really lost their way completely. So Honda's always been, and Yamaha's no better either. Yamaha's bike is trash, right? I mean, you look at what Fabio's having to do.
Call these bikes trash.
They are though, compared to the other ones, right? Like, think about it.
Why is it trash?
Because it's not kept up. The trashness. It's not kept up with development of the other bikes, right?
So like they're not cranking out.
They're not doing enough. But you could make the case that COVID-19 really affected Japanese development over European development, right? Where like during COVID, if you're a European developer and you have European riders, you're within the same region of the world mean, Japanese people have to travel a lot, the distances, some people speculate it could be that, but
interesting.
I still think the Yamaha's kind of sucked since like 2015, 2016.
Because that's when you stopped seeing new bikes, and that's when
you stopped seeing proper development for this machine and stuff,
Okay.
Like Ducati led the way with Aero, they led the way with the super high-powered motorcycles.
But also they're making all that bike lease money.
I know, yeah.
That they can just pour back, and then they've got all the research
But Honda's the biggest manufacturer in the world.
Yeah, that's true.
Right? Like Ducati sells like an iota compared to Honda, so it's like, yeah.
How much is a Ducati versus a
Honda? Doesn't matter. Like Honda by and far away is way bigger than Ducati in
I'd
terms
like
of
to
sales.
see it would be fun to see their archetype in terms of racing politics at this phase and this long into the game.
I know. I mean, it's astonishing that Ducati has been there unsuccessfully for the last 15 years, just trying and trying and trying. And honestly, for me, like I would like Fabio to win just because I'm a Yamaha stan, but it is going to be really good to see Ducati finally win it again since 2007 with Stoner. Like that's a long time ago. Think, where were you in 2007? Like
I was graduating high school.
That was a long time ago.
Man. Also, too, I feel like there's something around the magic of Ducati's management team, too, and how long they've been in it. And
yes.
They're the ones...
Yeah, they have their linchpins and their guys, the Gigi Dall'Ignas, Davide Tardazzi. Yeah, I mean, they have their management set up. But it's just going to be really cool. I mean, we wanted to talk about 2023 a little bit.
Yeah.
I mean, the prospects of that year is tantalizing, right? With Bastianini and Bagnaia duking it out, right? If Honda can get their stuff together with Marquez and Mir, would be amazing, right?
Tell me a little bit about Mir, because it's like, obviously I've been looking at like Alex Rins and Marc Marquez, but I don't know much about Mir.
Yeah, so Mir was really interesting because in 2020 he won the World Championship, right?
Okay. And
he won it in this way of just consistently getting podiums and just kind of always being there and being like kind of near it. And then he won one race. He is a very talented rider, and he's very thoughtful on the track. Very thoughtful, very cunning, very kind of Machiavellian in the way he goes about, passes people really beautifully. But for whatever reason, it's not really clicked together with him in the Suzuki in 21 and 22. He did get injured in 22, which sucks for him. That's why he's been out for a couple of races.
So, yeah, where has he been?
He's been out for a couple of races. Okay. He's got injured. Okay. But, yeah, I mean, he has tons of talent and potential. I don't know if they're going to manifest at Honda because nobody else has been able to do that. Pol Espargaro went into Honda, and it was a show. No, but nobody else has come into Honda and been successful like Mark since 2013, which was 10 years ago.
That shadow is big, heavy, and cold.
Yeah. Being his teammate must be daunting. You know what I mean? Like, geez. But at least now you don't have the pressure of being next to him like as a world champion, as a race winner. Like Mark is still kind of finding his way back in the mix, There was a part in the docuseries where they were talking about toes and how Mark was always getting a toe, and Jack Miller, there was a particular race where he was like patting the back of his bike and Mark followed him, But then Aleix, I think, was caught saying like, why does Mark always need help? This is about racing. Yeah. But then real quickly when the press was done with him, he was like, okay, well, don't, no, the newspapers are out of control. Let Mark, he was caught saying like, let Mark know I don't feel that. And one of Mark's people was like, you better go talk to him about that. He needs to hear it from you. Yeah. And you're like, oh God, just that one little thing that you said, like, I don't know why he needs help. Is like, uh-oh. Yeah. I'm in the doghouse now. Yeah. I mean, there's so much politicking and back-end conversations in racing. It can definitely be like that. You don't want the Terminator on your bad side. No. But we're going to take a quick break to talk about our sponsor, and then we're going to get back into the podcast. Now listen, just because you want to ride around your neighborhood blowing smoke like it's 1980, that doesn't mean you should have your phone at risk with such outdated technology. Luckily, Rockform has you covered. Rockform makes the best phone cases and handlebar mounts for motorcyclists. Their cases are drop tested and super durable, perfect for when you underestimate the power of any little two-stroke and neat yourself over backwards. Even better, they have handlebar mounts for any style of motorcycle. They have mounts that will work with a standard flat handlebar, clip-ons, or even some wicked ape hangers. Their phone cases easily connect with the mounts for quick attachment, so no need to waste any precious riding time fiddling with a cheap knockoff mount. Rockform even makes vibration dampeners for extra protection for the complex cameras you find in new phones nowadays. If you follow the link below and use the code YN25, you'll receive 25% off your order. Thank you, Rockform, for supporting the channel. Again, that is YN25 for 25% off. Now back to the show. All right, everyone, we are back, and I think we've discussed Ducati enough. Why don't we move on to the opinion I had that Fabio Quartararo is currently the best rider on the grid. But Marc Marquez may have something to say about it in 2023. So, talking a little bit about how I think Fabio is the best rider on the grid in 2023 racing. What are your thoughts on this?
Okay. Well, I was curious because I thought, who were you rooting for 4 races ago?
I pretty much always root for Fabio.
You were always a Fabio fan.
I'm always a Fabio guy,
Because
yeah.
Lucas was asking me too. He's like, where does Yam's chips lie? And I was like, I think it's just in Fabio, but I swore.
Did you say where does Yam's alliances lie? Is that what you
your
said?
chips lie?
Oh, my
yeah.
chips. Yeah, I'm a Yamaha guy for sure.
You're
yeah,
a
yeah.
Yamaha guy.
Yeah. I just Valentino
But you
Rossi stan
also-
lifetime, you know. Yeah.
But you're also like I've seen that the Marc Marquez camp is very divided. People either really hate him because
Yeah.
they think he's a dickhead,
Yeah.
or they really like him. But
I love Mark.
You love him too.
I love Mark. Yeah,
Okay.
he's the Terminator. Yeah,
He's the
like
Terminator.
he's amazing. I think I used to like Mark, but then now seeing what he's done and the way he's come back, my respect for him has tripled. I mean, it's amazing to see him after everything he's been through.
Come
he
back,
is still
keep
there.
racing.
He is so committed. How do you not respect that? You know, I mean, it's just really cool. Yeah, but who do you root for? I know you're a Miller fan.
Well, no,
right?
I thought, okay, so this is my 4th race watching it. Seeing Jack Miller was nuts, and the way he rode, I really enjoyed. Watching the docuseries, it changed a little bit because he was really struggling. You know, I don't know, you kind of get to finally see the backstories of stuff, and then
Yeah.
I liked Aleix a little bit more.
Yeah.
Seeing like,
Aleix is such a character.
yes, and then I was like, Maverick Vinales is a pee baby. He's like, I hate this bike. I'm
gonna blow
going
it
to
up.
Aprilia.
Yeah. I'm gonna blow up the bike, and be like, "What are you
You're
doing,
like, what?
dude?"
That is such a doo-doo head move.
Yeah, I remember when he did that in 21. I was like, "This guy's paid millions of dollars a year. Have some respect. Have some respect, you know."
Why did Aprilia take him in then?
Because he's really fast.
I mean, they're all so
And at the
fast.
time,
Such a-
Aprilia wasn't really a marquee manufacturer. They
Oh,
were
okay.
always P18, P17, and so to get a talent like Maverick on the bike, you're like, oh yeah, like let's get Maverick
they
on the
were
bike.
accepting him with open arms. I guess because you're coming from factory Yamaha, so it's like
Maverick's
that
fast.
guy.
He's really good.
Yeah.
I mean, he's been 3rd in the championship many times. I mean, he's a super talented rider. And I still think he has potential to be a title contender in 23. But 23 is going to be so crazy. You don't know.
It's gonna be
you know?
so crazy.
We have sprint racing. We have all kinds of team shakeups. Insane.
So right now I have allegiance to no one.
Okay.
That's typical of me and my ethos, but it
Yeah.
was cool to see Alex Rins get up there. So it's like I'm coming into
I think
this
you like the
and
underdog story, right?
I do like the underdog
Everyone
story, but I also really respect the bigger names. So to me, to see 4 races and to see the diversity in what's happening, you're like, oh God, all these dudes are just insane.
Yeah.
So I don't have enough skin in the game to like give you who I.
Yeah.
I mean, I do. Well, we'll save that, but yeah.
I think that's why Valentino Rossi was so popular, because he was able to win all the time, which everyone loves. It's like, wow, I root for the winner. But he was also such an interesting and charming and funny guy off track too, which people
Yes.
loved. Like he had the chicken thing that he did where like, did you hear about this?
Yeah, I've seen like the chicken thing and then the
Yeah.
blow up doll thing of like
Yeah.
the guy who was battling. They
He
had
did
his
the-
girlfriend dressed up in a rugby costume.
Yeah, he did this thing where like he did the bowling thing and everyone fell over. He did this thing where like he got pulled over for a speeding ticket after his race. I mean, all these fun antics, you know, that kind of make racing fun. He kind of pioneered that.
Well, and didn't he reignite like the flame for fans to
Oh, yeah.
watch? And it
Yeah,
was
yeah,
like
yeah.
seeing footage from the early 2000s.
Yeah.
It was packed.
Packed. Yeah, I mean, because he was the guy, you know?
The guy.
And we don't really have that right now. We have all these very
No.
professional, because here's the crazy part. I know you'll like this. So there's footage from like the early 2000s. There's riders on the grid like smoking cigarettes. Like these kind of tubby back markers in the back of the grid, just like, hey, I'm here, I'm gonna go shred it, have some fun. You don't see that nowadays. These guys are all like athletes, professional, buttoned up. Man, back in the day, it was like, yeah, screw it, I'm going to rip some wheelies on this 500cc two-stroke and smoke a cigarette afterwards, you know? Like, it was so different.
Well, it was like the spirit of Marlboro was strong. And it was plastered everywhere, and it made so much money and gave so many people cancer.
So many people got cancer.
That was kind of like the nice, fun heyday of Vice, you know, and it's
and it also gave us the best liveries.
Yes.
Between F1 and the bikes too.
Oh my
Marlboro
God.
bikes and the Camel livery.
Camel ones are awesome. There was a couple Pepsi ones that were really cool. Don't even get me started on that.
That should be a whole podcast. Favorite liveries.
Dude,
favorite liveries.
We'll be in here for 2 hours talking about that.
That's a good idea though. Favorite liveries.
That Camel one. There's a Camel. I think an old Yamaha.
Yeah.
Just beautiful.
Just yellow. There was the year, I think it was 2006, where Valentino Rossi he was sponsored by the team was Camel, and the bike was yellow, his suit was yellow, his helmet was yellow. I was like, this guy looks like a highlighter just flying down the road. It's crazy.
And he lined his pockets that day.
Absolutely. Yeah. But 2023, obviously we're talking about athletes, super professional, all this stuff. Everything's tightening. The motorcycle singularity. Where is your head kind of at with it in 2023?
I'm excited to see, because it's like, I'm excited to see what Jorge Martin does, because he's like, going out with a bang is nuts.
He has obliterated the track records of the last 2 tracks, like by like 4 or 5 tenths. You're just like, whoa.
Dude, and when the cameras can't keep up with you, like, I'm kind of watching that guy.
So it was really cool. In Phillip Island, Jorge Martin broke the track record, and Jorge Lorenzo had the track record there from like 2014 or 15. He had the record for like 8 years. Damn. Yeah. And Jorge Lorenzo was making fun of him. He was like, yeah, if I had that bike, I would have done a 125 instead of a 127, because it's Jorge Lorenzo and he's like the villain of GP, you know, he's this goofy guy. But yeah, Jorge Martin is just obliterating track records. It's really cool to see. Ooh. Do you think that's going to continue?
I think so.
I think so too.
Because we were talking about this yesterday too. We should just have little lapel mics on and record all this. Yeah. But we were talking about, oh no, where'd it go? How long is your break? After this season ends and you become champion, and then
it's nothing. It's nothing.
I mean, you don't get a breather.
No, like you end the season in like mid-November, and then you go testing, and then in February you're testing again, and March you're back. So you have like three months top max, basically, where honestly in those 3 months you're like hitting the gym every single day and training, and you know, where is your time to breathe? You don't have time to breathe. So
it's like, I almost feel like these last few races, these are kind of precursors to 2023.
Yeah.
So who's going to inhale Suzuki giblets?
Yeah, man, that's the big thing for me is I think Suzuki leaving the paddock, it's so sad because so many talented people will be out of jobs, which sucks. Super sad. But if Yamaha is any bit smart, they will poach Suzuki people like crazy because they need that help. Because Suzuki figured out how to make an inline 4 fast in a straight line. Yamaha needs that desperately. Yeah, desperately.
It's almost perfect. I'm sure that was kind of part of the bigger holistic picture when they were thinking about it.
Yeah. But it is a bummer that Suzuki's gone.
It's a bummer.
That's such a beautiful bike too. Have you seen it up close, the Suzuki?
No.
It's beautiful. The exhaust, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful bike. And it's the last inline 4 bike other than the Yamaha.
Do you know, we didn't talk about why Suzuki's folding, right? We like kind of
There's so many theories on that, man. It's kind of like the higher ups at Hamamatsu in Japan are kind of like, this isn't making enough money. We need to focus more on the microcars in India. You know, why are we spending money on this?
You're clearly not a fan of racing. It's
exactly,
not about
it's not about money. But it's so funny because I think that if they had, because you can just write it off as marketing expenses. It's expensive, but it is marketing at the end of the day. And the bikes were competitive. They weren't, you know, if you could say like, I don't want to spend money on this because my bikes are always in the end of the grid. Fair. If you're Tech 3, you're like, why do I spend all this money?
If you're Williams Racing.
Yeah, you're like, why are we here? You know? Yeah. But they're not. They're P6, P5, podiums, wins every once in a while. Like, that's great coverage. And I think that if they could finesse that into not just like Suzuki motorcycles, if they want to talk about the microcars, plaster the bike with car branding stuff for Suzuki. I don't know, like make Rins talk about how he loves the new, like they do this all the time with the racers. Like Miguel Oliveira has a deal with Hyundai, and I was in Portugal a couple weeks ago. He's everywhere in Portugal. It's crazy. So all the ads I saw billboards with him. He's at gas stations. So you can use your riders to promote whatever you want. So promote the microcars in India. I don't know. So it's weird that they left.
And I feel like Suzuki kind of needs that, unless there's some foreboding of a different kind of future ahead of us, whether it's electric or, you know.
I mean, maybe they're thinking 20 years down the pipeline.
They might be thinking a lot further ahead than we attribute.
Than us small-brained non-executives at Suzuki.
Why
don't they just go racing?
They might have some tech that they're not letting people know about that's going to kind of put the kibosh on the ICE. And
Yeah. So... But yeah, Suzuki out of the fold. But yeah, I think Yamaha should poach Suzuki people as much as possible. The big question mark is going to be, can Yamaha get a higher top speed to allow Fabio to be competitive with those Ducatis? And can Honda get their shit together? If neither of those two happen, Ducati's going to dominate again next year. Simply put.
Will you be bored if Ducati dominates next year? No. You will? Really?
Maybe. I don't know. I'm just not a Ducati guy. But...
I gotta write all this down.
Racing is not, it's emotional, Whitney. It's emotional. You're just, sometimes you root for who you root for. You can't explain for it. You know, you're just like, I mean, Fabio literally is like your dumb younger brother who likes sneakers. That's how I describe him to everyone who's like, why do you love Fabio? I'm like, I don't know. He's like endearing in a stupid way, but he's super fast. Yeah. And it's really, he has a beautiful riding style too. He's so smooth. It's really cool. If you watch really closely on camera, you can see when riders finish trail braking and get back on the throttle. Mark has a really cool style where like he brakes and then he like flicks his wrist and gets back on the throttle. You can see it.
Whoa.
It's really cool. Fabio is he has this thing where like he brakes, you don't see him get back on the gas. He's so smooth.
Okay, now I want to look up some goddamn wrist footage.
Yeah, it's really cool. They have some old footage from back in the day. Where they used to put a camera right in front of like the throttle and the clutch and stuff.
That's where you want to. I mean, that's what you want to look at.
They used to do it for. I remember I think it was Laguna Seca with Casey Stoner. You could see him coming into braking zones. They used to actually use clutches back then. It wasn't a seamless box, so he'd go pew, 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 and just grab gears. And you could, if you slowed it down, you could see him pull in quickly and release slow. Each of those super fast movements.
Wow.
It was just really cool, but. Yeah, look really closely and you can see the different riding styles. Like Mark has that flick of the wrist thing he does. Fabio has this really smooth. I don't think he ever really like
just finesse.
Yeah, just finesse. Yeah. So yeah, he needs a faster bike though. That's the problem. If he doesn't get a faster bike, he's kind of screwed.
But he's a fast rider.
He's very fast.
As a novice, it's funny that you say he needs a faster bike. I'm like,
he needs a faster bike. You look at the top speeds of these other like.
I'm not looking at top speeds.
Yeah. The top speeds, that's when you can really tell. You'll see the Ducatis just gap him on the straight, and you're like, well, he can't do anything.
Right.
You know, like
the Yamaha dominates what's he supposed the corners
to do? Yeah. But hopefully he can kind of figure it out. Our last opinion point here, I just wanted to cover this, and then we can quickly recap the race and specifically. Is GP getting more boring, Whitney?
No. What are you talking about? Do you feel bored?
I think that when you look at World Superbike or GPs of the past, it is more boring. When you look at just 2021, there's just not as much action happening. You'll see the race start, really electric, everybody's in the middle, spreads out, they stay there.
I will say that
there is passing, but I don't know.
There was much more entertainment and attention happening on Phillip Island versus Sepang.
Phillip Island produces great racing.
Phillip Island, man,
slapped.
That slapped so hard.
Yeah.
Especially when Alex dive bombed Jack Miller.
Yeah.
Oh, and then like you see the cameras are pointed at him and he's like crawling up to Jack because he's
like, I'm so sorry.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah. He's like, I am so dumb. I'm so sorry. Yeah. I am so excited for you to watch 2015.
Dude, I'm ready to see a sequel get headbutted.
It's the infamous year. Like so much happened that year. I'm so excited for you to watch the I think we should dedicate like a 3-part podcast to 2015 as you work through it.
Okay.
That would be so much fun.
Okay.
And then we have our favorite liveries podcast too.
Oh.
That'll be a lot of fun.
Okay, you can pipe interesting action into 2023. What are you filling your pastry bag with? What are you piping it with?
I just want to see more close racing. I know that we're close right now, but I really feel like the aero causes everybody to not make certain moves, and there's turbulence, and then you're just not seeing the kind of action you would see in World Superbike, for example. If you watch a World Superbike race, you're just like, this is fucking awesome. Like, everybody's getting in there and slicing and dicing. You just don't see that as much in GP, which is sad.
So the streamline or like talk to me about the aero. Like,
yeah, so if you look at a GP bike nowadays, it's covered in wings and vents and stegosaurus things at the rear tail. They look crazy, right? And that's all to try to gain marginal advantages in racing, which is a prototype class for MotoGP. That's what you should be doing. But the racing's getting worse because of it, right?
Because you can't get close and you can't like...
Yeah, you can't get close. The braking zones get crazy. The front tire temperatures get too high with certain things if you're behind riders. A lot of weird stuff happens.
Oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. Starts heating up.
Because, it's a bunch of weird starts happening. And theoretically, the bikes are faster, and that is better, quote unquote. But again, it's a spectacle. It's a show. And if, much like F1, the show gets boring, you got to fix it. So I think that in the next 2, 3, 4 years, they might do away with aero and be like, okay, this was a fun experiment. We had a good time with this. Let's get back to more normal looking motorcycles. Because also the GP bikes, I would never look at one nowadays and be like, wow, that's a really cool looking bike.
No.
They look like just
They're
horrible
aggro.
transformer machine things that look horrifying to ride, you know? It's really funny. Sometimes they pull back with the camera and show, like, for example, like Marc Marquez on the bike, kind of from a farther away distance. And you see how these bikes are so like big and he's so small. It's like he's strapped to a freaking jet missile, you know? Like, they're pretty scary bikes. Yeah.
It's always, it's so funny to relate this. I relate this to like, I get an email every store you go to, right? You get an email every 3 days. But you're thinking about there's a whole department of people who are like, we need to send out more emails. And you're like, no one needs this. So it's kind of like that with aero. It's like, well, we've got a team of a whole beautifully paid team to sit here and focus on going faster. So what are you going to tell them? Stop?
Yeah.
You know, it's complicated.
It needs to be a top-down regulation thing. Because, they're not going to stop. The aero war is here, and they're just going to keep trying to make the bikes uglier and crazier and faster and all that stuff. Because, again, the singularity is here. That's the only way you can gain advantages, right? That's it. It's just through aero and these tiny tweaks, tiny little changes here and there. But, yeah. You want to talk about the race itself and kind of recap the whole situation?
Yeah.
All right. So, qualifying recap. Jorge Martin obviously obliterated the track record. I am convinced he is the fastest rider over one lap in GP at the moment. A 157.7 around Sepang is disgustingly fast. Disgusting.
It's the grossest thing we've ever seen.
It's the grossest thing I have ever seen.
It's so gross.
Yeah.
He tucked it.
Yes. Enea Bastianini snuck into P2 on the grid, kind of under the radar. Nobody really mentioned that, but front row start for him is great because historically his qualifying has been a little iffy, but now I think if Enea can qualify in the front row and do what he does, he's going to be a title contender next year.
How was qualifying? I heard it was an absolute turd show.
Yeah, a lot of people crashed. A lot of people went down. I mean, our title contenders ended up P9, P12, and Aleix was like P16 or P15 or something like that. So they're just nowhere. I mean, like you said, when Fabio started the race in P12, I was like, that's over. That this is it. Championship's going to be decided today. I was literally, I queued up the race because I queued up no spoiler on my TV because I don't want to know anything that's going to happen. And I was just like, oh yeah, today, this is it. Like, today's the day that I have to watch Ducati win the championship.
And then instead, we were all pleasantly surprised.
We take it to Valencia, baby. And then Marc Marquez also snuck in a pretty extraordinary P3 with that Honda, dragging it where it doesn't belong. Doing the lap on his own, by the way. Did not get a tow for that one.
I love that you said dragging it where it didn't belong.
It doesn't. It doesn't belong there.
All
Look at where the other Hondas are. They're all like P19, P20. It doesn't belong there.
All right.
He was in Q1. He had to fight through Q1 to get into Q2. Clearly, he had to go, come on, Honda, let's go. And the bike's just lifelessly coming along.
He's so nice and regal about, we got to work together with Honda to fight. He's never blaming the bike.
No.
He's never.
No.
We talked about how that was, how much are you getting paid a year to race?
Yeah,
so.
Mark reportedly, nobody knows how much he makes, but reportedly between $15 to $20 million a year. So would you say anything bad about someone cutting you a check that big?
It was also his opinion on sprint racing too. He's like, I'm excited. You're like, oh, okay.
Sure
this
you are.
He's getting paid a lot of money.
And then meanwhile, Aleix is like, this is the worst thing to ever happen ever. I hate everybody. And then he starts crying or something. For me, a big highlight was Franco Morbidelli coming into Q2 and P7 on the grid. He had a bunch of craziness, but
tell me about Franco Morbidelli, because
okay, so you didn't watch 2020 season, but Franco Morbidelli was a very, very competitive satellite Petronas Yamaha rider. he was Fabio's teammate on that team. And he came second in the championship in 2020. And a lot of people think that if there was just one or two more races, because the calendar was shortened that year, if there was one or two more races, he would have won.
Damn.
Because he came really close. Something started happening with him in 2021. He got really angry at Yamaha for giving him a 2019 bike. He wasn't really competitive. He got a couple podiums, which was great. He injured his knee, which was really bad. And so now he's been dealing with knee injuries. So for the past 18 months or so, it's kind of been like, where's Franco? Like this really charismatic, Italian guy with Brazilian heritage who is very eloquent off track.
Well, you gave him an old bike and then that was it.
Yeah, but he was this really well-spoken guy, really charismatic. I'd love to see him doing better, hopefully with a better Yamaha and a good off-season. He'll come back and be a good wingman to Fabio, but we'll see. But he had a bunch of penalties. He was riding really irresponsibly, so that wasn't good to see.
That's interesting. I was seeing you seeing the races where you're like, what happened last night, man?
Yeah, it's like, what are you doing? Why are you pitting out in front of people like it's a club race? What's going on?
And they've talked about too, Saturday racing style is different than Sunday's racing style. Very
Jorge
different. Martin has a great Sunday race, but not so good Saturday race. So that's always interesting too.
Yeah. And then Bagnaia was P9 on the grid, which was a little weird. It's like, is he going to be able to get it up there? Can he get it up? Yes, he can get it up.
Can he get it up?
Can Pecco get it up, baby? He did get it up because Pecco got a ridiculously good start at the race.
Yeah. Didn't he say it was the best ever?
Yeah, he said it was the best start I've ever had. I'm like, this is
Yeah.
right when you needed it. That's good. Yeah, he went from P9 to P2 in one corner. That was amazing.
Yes, that was insane.
Yeah.
That was beautiful. That was one
Yeah.
of those, you want to hire a violinist.
Yeah.
To live
If you watch the onboard footage, you're like, he's not going to make it. There's no way he's going to make it. He's going to crash into somebody because he's braking so late. But he said the whole race, he was like, I was able to brake so late, So he clearly had something in the bag. So basically from the start of the race, it was like, Pecco's got this, And then, as we mentioned earlier, Jorge Martin yard sailed that Pramac and just yeeted himself into infinity again. We've seen this a couple times again from Martin. But I really think if he can figure out how to stop crashing, he'll be great. That's all he got to do.
We've talked about this. There's the calculated riders, and then there's the big dick energy get out of my way riders, and you got to toe the line.
Yeah.
Win or yeet.
Win or yeet. Yep. And then, of course, we had the battle with Enea and Bagnaia, kind of going back and forth. Bastianini lined up a move on Bagnaia at lap 11, turn 11, launched him on the inside. The team bosses all started freaking out, walking over everything. But to your point, I do think it was sad that we got coverage of three old Italian men talking when there's so much great racing happening on track.
They were saying they were all wearing heart monitors.
Yeah. They are.
And then they were like, "Oh God!" They saw their BPM go up by 50.
Yeah, it's the show angle of MotoGP is pretty silly sometimes. They have the other cameras in the corner being like, "What are they doing? What's going on here?" And I'm like, "There's some really good racing happening, and we're not seeing it."
I know.
This sucks.
Yeah, I think we were talking about that pre-stream. It's like, God, the camera guy only has one motive right now.
Yeah,
we don't get to see the other battles that are happening.
Even if it's boring, And
Yes.
and it's funny because. Yes, Enea and Bagnaia were close, but there wasn't much happening between them. And typically in racing, if you have someone way off in the front just leading, they cut the camera from that and they just start showing other stuff. But I think because Bagnaia was the title contender, they couldn't do that. They have the live championship thing. They have screenshots from his girlfriend looking concerned.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't want to see her. I don't care. Show me the racetrack.
Well, some of us want to see her. She is beautiful, so that's not a bad thing.
You want to see her crying and sweating?
I don't want to see her crying. That's weird, but. Congrats to Pecco for the sex.
Hashtag congrats to Pecco for the sex.
Yeah, congrats Pecco on that one. And then Bezzecchi was looking dangerous as he moves closer to Quartararo. I think if he had taken P3 away from him, it would have been championship decided, but Quartararo was able to hold him back. Alex Rins nabbing a P5 kind of under the radar too is pretty impressive. Coming off of his win at Phillip Island, that's great for Suzuki. I like that.
Where did he start?
I don't remember. Don't remember the grid.
Matter.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. I think he started P5. I think he kept his P5 position.
Kept it.
Yeah,
he held
he
on
just
to
kept it. Yeah. But the tension was really palpable between Bagnaia and Bastianini. I mean, it was very tense to watch that race. I was like, are these guys going to crash? What's going to happen here? I can't bear to take my eyes off of this. It's really crazy.
I wasn't so worried. It was funny. Like, I could see that Jorge was going to crash because you're like, dude, that guy, come on. But the battle for first after he wiped out was so, I don't know. It did seem like, okay, they're in it. They're in the flow state. They're staying right there.
The other thing about it too is Pecco's doing a much better job now about keeping his pressure kind of contained when he's leading. You know, like he's happened before. I think he's done it 3 or 4 times where he's leading and just eats it.
Can you imagine not having anybody in front of you? It would be hard.
It'd be hard. Yeah, you're just like, but also like hearing somebody behind you because you can hear Bastianini or feeling it or just like seeing a front wheel and then the front wheel disappears. You're like, oh my God, like he's coming for me. You know, like he's coming for me.
Because they're not talking to them like they do F1 racers.
No, there's
because
no
you cannot interrupt them.
There's no way. Yeah,
you cannot interrupt them.
And not to say that F1's easier than GP, but it's certainly more athletic in GP.
I think they were at Yamaha Champ School talking about how GP riders will hop in an F1 car and smash a lap record. Yeah. Because when there's less around you, you're way tuned in to all of it more versus.
They get in the car and like, oh, there's no lean angle to worry about? Easy. Smash it. But yeah, that was kind of the race recap. It went pretty well. Honestly, kind of shout out, and looking at the race results here, shout out to Cal Crutchlow for a 12th place, coming in as a stand-in test rider. Amazing.
Ooh, tell me about that.
So Cal Crutchlow was a British motorcycle racer. God, he raced from I think 08 until 2017 or something. He raced for a long time. Veteran. Came from World Superbike. Raced for Honda LCR, raced for Yamaha Tech 3, I think. Won a couple races, podium. Really, really solid rider. He's been retired for 2 years as a development rider, and to come back in and nab a P12 is pretty sweet. Yeah. That's pretty impressive. Ahead of some pretty powerful names. Also, shout out to Raul Fernandez in 15th place on the Tech 3 bike. I think that's his best result ever. So that's pretty good. I'm really excited to see him on an Aprilia next year and not on the Tech 3 KTM because that is a dog of a bike. Dog of a bike. It's trash, Whitney. The bike is trash.
Would you ride it?
Of course I'd ride it.
See?
But maybe I'd be like the Ducati CEO and just be like, I'm not worthy. I can't come near it. But I would ride it. Totally ride it. If someone threw me the keys to it, as if it has keys. If someone said you can ride it,
here are the keys. You fumble.
Like, oh God!
Could you imagine trying to key your bike before every race?
Yeah, as if it doesn't have like a giant starter motor thing they have to do. And then Luca Marini finally had his first DNF.
I was about to say, I didn't see it because they weren't.
I think it was a mechanical. I think he just had. I think something happened with his ride height device, and he's like, I can't ride. And he just pitted in. But that was his first ever non-finishing race.
Hell yeah.
It's crazy.
Cautious rider.
Cautious, meticulous, calculated. But he needs a little bit more yeet, in my opinion. A little bit more yeet. All right, Whitney, predictions for Valencia.
I kind of want to see some elbowing. I want to see some rubbing. I want to see
I want to see some crazy.
I want to see some crazy stuff. I want to see Fabio try to knock out Pecco a little bit.
That would just be so funny if Fabio somehow crashed into Pecco. It'd be like, really, guys? Really? Come on. But last year in Valencia, it was a Ducati 123.
Tell me about the track.
Valencia is not many straights, I don't think. I'd have to pull up the track map. But if I remember correctly, it's a smaller track, and it usually favors bikes like the Yamaha.
Okay.
And traditionally, you wouldn't have seen a Ducati doing that well there, but they did. And it was like, oh, shit, this bike's really good.
So why did Ducati get 123 last year?
I think they just had the big dick energy. I think their bike's just working really well, and the Yamahas and the other bikes just weren't that much.
So there wasn't a specific instance where you're like, oh, this is what gave them the...
Yeah, I don't think there was any specifically...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there is one nice long straight at Valencia, but the rest of the track is very flowing, so it does favor a bike like the Yamaha a little bit more. But here's my total wildcard prediction. Let's see if it happens. I think I want to say this before I put it out there. I think it's outrageously unlikely. I don't think it's going to happen at all. But
you are a very pie in the sky sort of guy.
I'm pie in the sky kind of guy. I think Pecco and one or two other Ducatis are going to be up in the front battling. Fabio's going to be P4, P5 in that mix. Pecco's going to crash and Fabio's going to win.
Damn.
It's, again, I want to put this out there. It's like a 0.0001% chance of it happening. I honestly think what's actually going to happen is Fabio gets P6 and Pecco gets P3 or P4, and the championship's done. That's what I really think is going to happen.
As a novice, I thought, oh, Fabio is going to fold. And then seeing him not fold and do the opposite, I'm kind of like, oh, okay. Because I thought for sure maybe Valencia is just going to crumble. But it's like,
No, I don't think so.
No, obviously he's insane. So he wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
And I just haven't seen enough. But so are you going to watch both qualifying? You're going to watch Friday, Saturday?
Oh, yeah.
This time I'm going to...
It's in 2 weeks, so I gotta prep for that. It's a very big occasion.
You got to prep for that? What does that mean? You got to get the right chips.
Gotta get the right chips. Gotta get everything set up. Make sure I got time for everything. Make sure everything's perfect. I just gotta prep for it. Give me podium predictions for Valencia.
Podium predictions.
First, second, third. And I'll give you my first, second, third.
Second, third.
Yeah.
Oh, God. All right. Counter to yours. Pecco gets first. Pecco wins.
Pecco wins the title with a win. Ooh. Okay.
I don't know. Pecco wins.
Okay. Who's second?
Mark.
Dude,
I'm just throwing stuff out there.
Let's see
it.
It could be.
Mark. I like where Mark is hanging. Fabio. Weird. I don't know.
Interesting podium. Could be. Here's
welcome to new podium land with Whitney.
Yeah, my podium predictions.
Hold on, should I write this down? Let me write this down.
Yeah, write down your podium predictions.
I already forgot.
You said Pecco, Mark,
and
then Fabio.
Just never.
You don't remember, yeah.
No. I remember. I'm like, this is just not gonna happen. And
then Fabio. Yep. All right. My predictions. I think it's gonna be. Oh, as much as I hate to admit it, I do think Pecco's going to win, unfortunately.
I do think he's going to win, too.
I think he's going to win. Yeah, he's got momentum. He's feeling good. I think he'll win.
Unfortunately.
I don't know.
Okay.
Pecco will win. I'm going to say Zarco second.
Why?
Because Zarco's a podium man.
Zarco's a podium
He always comes
man.
clutch.
All right.
And I'm going to throw in Marco Bezzecchi for third.
Okay.
I'm going to chalk in a VR46 boy for third. That's what I think's going to happen. You remember who he was?
No. I was looking up when he took pole because we were both confused.
Oh,
as to whether that had
happened. It was Thailand. It was Buriram.
Yeah, and then he lost.
Then he lost it
right away.
Yeah, he didn't. Yeah, that's what happened. That's right. He did get pole position. I thought it was Motegi, but it wasn't.
Just like turn one, gone. Yeah,
gone. Bye. But folks, I think that's going to wrap up this episode of the YNGP podcast. If you want to watch these live, head over to Discord and join on Yammienoob.co as mentioned at the top of the hour. And also, if you have any comments for us down below, let me know. And we will be covering the final race of the year in, I guess, 2 weeks' time it'll be. And then in the off season, we got a bunch of fun content.
We've got a bunch of fun content. We should have like fun little costumes for Valencia talk. Did you see
we should have the Ducati Pope. The Ducati Pope.
The Ducati Pope. He had that. That wasn't thrown together. He had that made.
That was amazing. The Ducati Pope was amazing.
Okay, that's what I'm gonna do after.
I can't wait for all the fun memes and images and all the other good stuff and videos that are come out if Ducati wins this title.
And your nice little meme feeder that you
I got an RSS feed of just memes.
I meant like a hamster.
Oh, my hamster. Yeah, I'm just lapping it up. Actually, I can't do that anymore with my new phone, so I'm now no memes. Yeah.
Well, I can print them out for you.
Yes, print out the memes for me. Give me my folder of memes.
I'll print them out and then I'll fold them into airplanes and
that's
then
nice.
send them
And
into your
I
office.
snatch them up and I'm like, oh, that's funny. Thank you for the email. Yes. Alrighty, guys, we're going to head out. I appreciate you hanging out with us, and we'll catch you on the next one. See you later.
Thanks for checking out the YNGP podcast. If you've made it all the way to the end, I can guarantee you're going to love signing up for our Discord server. Join the community at www.yammienoob.co. Memberships start for as little as $5 a month, and you'll get the chance to send in comments, questions, and feedback to the show, as well as watch it live. Sign up today at www.yammienoob.co.